no one should ever want to be an actor. Ever. It's the worst. It is the worst job in the world.
Said it to camera.
No, I'm serious. If you want to be an actor, please study accounting.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Convo Couch. I'm Sun,
I'm Baz.
and today we've got actor Clayton Demos coming on.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming on.
Well, I was a bit of a class clown at school, and we had to do an activity in the second grade, and we had to just do a performance for class. And I don't know what it was just a moment where I kind of thought, I had an idea, and I was like, oh, I'm going to do this. And I gathered my friends and I said, okay, we're gonna do this song. It was a song that was on ABC at the time. It was called You Brush Your Teeth. It's like you brush your teeth. I forget the name of the guy who sung it, but yeah, if you're growing up in the 80s, it was huge. And so I was like, oh, we're going to do this song. And so I said, okay, you guys can be the toothbrush. You can be the toothpaste. Like, you can do this, and the toothbrush guys can do this. And then I'll just sing and dance in front. And it was just a really daggy rendition of it. And I was kind of singing and dancing in front of the class, and kids are laughing. And I was like, oh, okay, this is interesting. It was an interesting sort of response to that moment in time, and something changed in that moment. So from there on, I was trying to always make kids laugh in my year. It's kind of half of it was a defense mechanism, so I didn't get in a fight or punched in the head. But the other bit was just the enjoyment of just making someone laugh, and there was a sense of joy that I got from that. So that's pretty much where it came from. And then when I was about 19, I was looking for a job at the time, and I was going through the classifieds in the paper, and mum saw something about an extras agency. You see the little adverts there. Mum's like, oh, this is a advertisement for an extras agency. Why don't you go and join this? You always wanted to be an actor. And it's kind of like a throwaway sort of line. And I was like, well, whatever, but I still called them. And they're like, yeah, come in tomorrow. I was like, tomorrow? Okay, sure. So I went in, and I had no idea about the industry, right? So I dressed up in a suit, like as though it was like a proper interview, like it was like I was going for an office job or something. So I was completely overdressed for the thing, and I turned up and I spoke to the lady there. Her name was Marilyn or Lisa or something, and so we had a chat for about 5 minutes, and she's like, "Okay, no worries. We'll just go into the next room, get your headshot." And I was like, "Okay, no worries." Got my headshots done, and then about 2 weeks later, I got a call to be an extra on All Saints, which was amazing. And I was just like in this, like, oh my God, this is amazing. And like I was just soaking it up. And that particular episode, I was like a protester on the show, and I'm holding a placard, and it said PSA, patients suffer all around. And they had two of the leads walking like past us, and they go PSAs, and we're like, yay, sort of thing. And it was just, I went home, and I was on a buzz. It was like, this is it. This is what I'm going to do. So yeah, I just went progressively from there on. So.
Wow, you have a very distinct memory of what happened.
Yeah, I've a bit of a photographic memory. So
okay, that's
pretty
cool.
I'm seeing the details as I'm telling you. So
really?
Yeah. So it's like,
wow,
it's
this is really cool for an actor.
Good. Yeah.
And ever since then, you've been doing acting for 20 years now.
Yes. So I started out. So I did the extras work for a little bit, and then the hunger started to well up, and I was like, I've got to move up. And there was an adult acting course out at the Pilgrim Theatre, which is next to the Criterion pub on Pitt Street in the city, and the school was called City Drama Studio. It was run by Bree Crocker and David Van Vuren. What they would do is they would have like 10 weeks for each course. So they had a beginner, intermediate, and expert sort of course, and you'd move up. And what they would do, it would be like 5 hours. So we'd go do technique for 2 hours. We'd do a bit of improv for half an hour. Then we'd take a break, and then we'd come back and work on the text that we were assigned with. So the first term we'd work on a monologue, second term we'd work on a duologue, and third term we worked on a full theatre piece. So from that point on, we were able to kind of learn the very basics of the craft. And then from that, I started to just work in theatre, just constantly going, like doing community theatre, co-op plays, stuff like that. Eventually I got an agent through a friend that I met in one of the plays. She just made like an offhand remark like, oh, you should call my agent. And I didn't call like until 6 months later. And she was like the only agent in town that wanted to talk to me at the time, because I did the send out and got no response. And so I got representation, and then I started working in screen. So I started slowly moving out of theatre and then more into film and TV work, and that's kind of where I've stayed now. And I don't do theatre as much or anymore now.
How do you find that transition?
It was tricky because theatre, you've got to project a lot. You've got to be very open and outward in your performance. You need to project your voice to the back row. Whereas with film and TV, it's very internalized. So it's all about the eyes, focusing the camera on the eyes and really projecting the emotion through nuance and silence and thought, and using this sort of area up here as like a screen for the audience to see what the actor is thinking and feeling at that particular moment. So that was very tricky to tone everything down. I remember one casting director, I did an audition for him for McLeod's Daughters, and I was just yelling and screaming in the room. And he said, okay, Clay, that was great. Just tone it down a bit. Just tone it down. I was like, sorry. So it was very over the top, and therein lies the distinction between theatre and film work.
Do you now consciously avoid theatre?
I do now, yeah, because I'm starting to go a bit stir crazy with theatre. I love theatre, but film and TV is where I want to work, because the turnaround is a lot quicker. Whereas with theatre, it's like, that's 3 months of your life. That's commitment that you're just going to throw yourself into. But by the same token, theatre has a lot of positives to it, and I wouldn't ever disparage theatre for what it is. Theatre, I think, provides an excellent groundwork for every actor to work in, to really find what works for them and what doesn't, because the audience response is immediate. And so when you get that immediate response from the audience and you're in tune with that, you kind of you develop a bit of an ear, like a radar for that. So you start to understand, am I good for comedy or not? Am I good for drama or not, or tragedy? So you start to understand what sort of characters you're good at playing, first and foremost. You understand where your range is. You understand how because you're rehearsing all the time. In film and TV, you don't get a lot of time to rehearse a scene, much less rehearse it with a partner. Whereas with theatre, you have a lot of groundwork to explore a text, really feel it out. It's like being on the inside of a balloon and stretching it out, stretching the skin out. And it's like, oh, I can go in this direction, I can go in this direction. You really start to create a shape within the framework of the character, within the center of the narrative of the play. So I find that fascinating, and I love that process. So with film and TV, it's just a compressed version of that sort of. So after working in theatre after a number of years, what happens is you learn to trust your instincts, and really just come down to just looking at a script first time and just seeing things jump out at you and go, yeah, this is what I'm going to do and this is what I'm going to do. But by the same token, you don't want to pre-shape a scene so that you're locked into a particular type of performance. Because when you go into a casting room, and a director goes, we need you to do it like this instead, when you've already done it one particular way. If you've locked it in a certain way, it's super hard to break out of that. So you've got to be flexible. You've got to be fluid with the script and the character.
How do you find that balance in terms of having a performance that you already seeing when you read the script, and versus, I guess, being open to all the other different suggestions?
If it's like a famous piece, like a piece of Shakespeare, for example, I try not to see the other performance. I don't like the influence, because it does influence you, irrespective of whether you are conscious of it or not. It's something that you've just got to block out. Say you're going for Hamlet, right? And you're going to play Hamlet and then you know of Kenneth Branagh's Hamlet. And, it's like, oh, great, there's this 4-hour version. I can watch Kenneth do it. And then I'll kind of pick up on what he's done. And what that does is you're just doing a carbon copy of what he would, or the choices that he made, rather than being in touch with your uniqueness and what you would apply to the role. And looking at the role with naked eyes, so to speak, and going, wow, I could actually make this decision or that decision. I think the ability to make choices and the flexibility of having choices available to you, as opposed to seeing a preset performance and saying, I want to do a copy of that, I think is a wonderful thing. And it's also being in touch with your unique side as well. I think because we're all brought up differently. We all have different experiences in life, and I think it's very important to be in tune with that and to bring that to the roles that we're cast in.
It's quite an interesting balance for actors because they have to be, I guess, in tune with that constantly, which is not something that an everyday average person might be doing just normally.
Sure.
And also balancing that with being very vulnerable, but also taking a lot of rejection in the industry.
Oh, yeah. No, that happens a lot. And that comes part and parcel to just the work itself. Like right now, I'm not working. I don't have any work coming up. But that could change next week. So and this is something that you need to, if you want longevity in the industry, you have to rationalize that. There's a lot of compromises that you have to take to be an actor. It's not something you can just go, oh yeah, I can do this, but also raise a family and also have a full-time job. It's just not going to work because there's going to be conflict of interest. There's 3 reasons why people leave the industry. One is because they can't handle the insecurity of the industry. So it's like, not knowing when their next job is coming in, the insecurity that they feel within themselves. It's something some people just can't handle. The other is priorities change. So they have a family. So it's not about them anymore. It's about having to raise kids. Because when you have kids, it's like, it's not about you. It's them. So that's it for 18 years. You're done. And so it's very difficult to maintain an acting career when the focus is on other people. And thirdly is people, they tend to get very, what's the word I'm looking for? They just have a resentment that they start to foster and they give birth to. And they think that if they get slighted on an opportunity, say you're out with friends, who are also actors at a cafe, and one of them goes, I got an audition for this major theatre company, and you went to drama school with that actor, and you're thinking, hold a sec, I'm as good as an actor as this person. Why am I not getting that opportunity? And it's not just in actors, but also crew as well. Just holding a grudge is just it's a death knell for anyone in this industry. You can never hold a grudge against anyone or anything. It's not going to work for a long-term sort of career prospect, because the people who are working long-term, they don't hold grudges. But some people just have that insecurity within themselves, and they foster that, and then they nurture it, and they become bitter, and then eventually they just throw up their arms and just go, no, that's it, I'm not going to do it anymore. So it's very important to make sure that if you're going to have a long-term career in the industry, that those 3 aspects you're happy to push aside and just let the business and life dictate, and let the beauty of the unknown kind of come into it. So yeah.
Sounds like you learn a lot of life lessons being an actor.
I did. And here's the thing. I in my 20s, I was super passionate. I was like, oh, by the time I'm 30, I want to be in the US. I want to start working on American films and TV shows and, and everything else. And I was super passionate about it. And I was hypercritical of myself. And it was a quantity, not quality sort of focused career sort of mindset. I wanted to get as much work as possible. I want to work with as many people as possible. Yet the quality of my work wasn't as good. Even though I was getting work, it still wasn't that good. And then it was about when I was 31, it was 2011, I saw the first feature film I had a lead role in, and I was sitting in the theatre with everyone watching it, and I was just appalled by the quality of the acting. It was terrible. And it was like everything had culminated up to that point. Like everything, all of my work in my 20s culminated up to that point. And it was just like, what am I doing up there? It's like, this is terrible. It was like this self-conscious sort of acting that I was doing. And so I really had to swallow a bitter pill and just go, I need to go back and study again. I need to like find that sense of humility within my work and just accept that some of my work is shit and that I've got to go back to the drawing board and start all over. And once I did that, I was able to look at everything from a new angle and accept the mistakes that occurred within my relearning process and everything else, and not be too critical of myself. And you know, Clint Eastwood has this nice saying. He said, take the work seriously, but don't take yourself seriously. And that's always sustained me, you know, and I'm not as passionate as I was in my 20s, but I still have the love of the work. It's still there, and that's what's kept me going. And even when I had no work, like time when there was just nothing, you know, in my 20s, I would get super agitated and, you know, awkward about it. It's like, oh my God, when's the next job coming? You know, it was like that dopamine hit I just wasn't getting. It was like a drug addiction in a way. And that's not healthy. It's just not. And, you know, I should have been out with friends and, you know, hung out and gone to the beach and just enjoyed life. Yeah, like it's a terrible choice to make, to be an actor. You only do it if there's nothing else. And for me, that's it. It's like there's no other profession I can do where I get that satisfaction.